Is Kate Tulenko. She's the CEO of Corvus Health, a global health firm. Kate, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
How fast-moving or contagious is this virus, and does it have the potential to decimate the hog population in China?
Yeah, so the virus is very infectious to pigs, and actually, unlike most other viruses, it can stay for weeks on surfaces, so on pens or on transport vehicles. And also, if pigs are fed food scraps, which include pork scraps, they can get it that way as well. And in fact, one thing that the Chinese government has done is ban the transport of pigs from affected areas and also banned pigs being fed untreated food waste.
There is no vaccine or cure for African swine fever. So other than destroying animals, how do you combat this?
So the Chinese government and the Food and Agricultural Association have responded in some very positive ways. They've been educating farmers, which is important because this is the first time that China has had African swine fever. And so the farmers don't know how to prevent it, and they don't know how to report it and respond. So they're educating farmers. They're teaching them what it looks like, how to clean the pens. They're also culling the pigs and taking the other measures I mentioned as well, banning the transport of pigs and banning the feeding of food scraps. But the economic and the human health impact is actually potentially quite large. China is the largest producer of pigs. There are 700 million pigs in China, and it's the #1 source of protein in China. So even though it doesn't affect human health directly, if the cost of pork rises, there are a lot of families that they'll have more problems putting food on the table, and they'll have to switch to other sources of protein, and those sources of protein will rise in price as well.
So, very basic question. I know you said there's no impact to humans as far as the transmission, but is that a possibility at some point? Could that ever happen?
It could, but it's not a huge risk. There are a lot of other diseases that are more risk to human health. But one important thing to remember is that the same disease surveillance system and response system that identified the African swine fever is what would be used to identify diseases that are more directly affecting human health.
You mentioned all the different measures the Chinese government is taking. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization is warning about this becoming a continent-wide crisis. So what more needs to be done to prevent that from happening?
Right. So needless to say, China is a regional and global hub of transport and trade. And so it could be a jumping off point for the illness to the rest of Asia, and many of which have very large pig populations. So those governments need to respond in similar ways, educating their farmers, banning the movement of pigs, banning the feeding of food scraps. And also they should do what China has done as well, compensate farmers who have affected pigs, because if you don't compensate, they won't report, and you drive the epidemic underground.
All right. Kate Tulenko, always great to hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining us.